to talk about today is how to get into the world of motorcycles. The people I'm directing this video towards are primarily people who have never ridden a motorcycle before. They don't really know where to start, but they want to learn, and they know or they think they want to ride. So if that sounds like you, I'm making this video just for you. I started riding about 3.5 years ago, so I guess I'll kind of narrate my story so that you can get a general idea of a sort of correct way to start. I like to think I did it right. What is this guy doing? He can't. What? Okay. Anyway, other than that guy being in the oncoming lane of traffic, let's see. Best place to start would be to get on YouTube, which you already have, and start looking at how-to videos and start familiarizing yourself with some really basic things about motorcycles. Some of these things you might want to start looking at. You want to look at the controls, what all the controls on the bike are and how they work. You want to, if you've never driven a manual car before, you're going to want to make yourself familiar with, you don't have to be a master, but make yourself familiar with clutching, gear shifting, how to get a manual vehicle moving, learning what the friction zone is on the clutch. These kinds of things will give you a good solid base. Once you've learned those, you want to look at taking a basic rider's course from the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. They've been doing this for a very, very long time. I'll post a link in the video description, but the people that put it on are the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. They offer the basic rider's course, and they'll teach you all the basic skills you need to know, and at the end of the course they'll give you the on-cycle test, and if you pass, which you should, then you will get your motorcycle license. So you don't even have to own a motorcycle and you can get a motorcycle license, here in the United States that is. Because at the Motorcycle Safety Foundation class, they'll give you the gear and they'll give you a bike to rent for the duration of the course. They have all different hours available to fit your schedule, so definitely check out an MSF course. The reason I say, they'll teach you everything you need to know, but the reason I say to familiarize yourself with things like gear shifting and the controls is it'll make the class a little less daunting when you first get there. I took the class at 17. I'd never even swung a leg over a motorcycle before. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never driven a manual car before. So I literally had no idea what was going on. But I had watched some YouTube videos prior to the course that explained a lot of these things to me, and it made the course a little bit easier to follow because it was less to take in at once, I guess. So learning some of those things before taking the course is definitely going to be beneficial to you, and taking the class in general will be extremely beneficial. The class does cost money. I think it's like $150. If you're in the military, it's free. They should offer one of these on post. Guard and Reserves, we can take it free as well. So if you're in the military right now, active, Guard, Reserves, you can get this class for free, so there's no reason not to do it. And the bikes they give you at the course are small bikes, like 230 and 250 cc's. I had like some Honda CB 230, whatever. It is an older bike, but it was really easy to learn on. They're light, they're nimble, they're very easy to learn how to ride. The instructors there are extremely professional. We had riders of all different skill levels at my class. I was the least experienced one there. I was also the youngest one there. And by the end of the class, I was still able to pass the on-cycle test. And that's just a testament to how much they really teach you in that class. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. That's kind of my thinking. With how little I knew and what few skills I had going into the class, and seeing that I was still able to be successful in the course, that just shows, I guess, how good my instructors were. And I've heard pretty much the same story of all my friends who I've gotten into riding and they took the course. They all pretty much said the same thing. So you don't even need a bike to take this course, but it is very beneficial. Alright, so you take the course, get your license hopefully. After that, you're ready to buy your first motorcycle. What kind of motorcycle do you buy? Well, this is a point of contention and debate in the motorcycle community. Some people will tell you to start on different size bikes than others. What it comes down to, though, is no one can really make that judgment call except for you. I implore you to watch as many videos as you possibly can from different people, get different opinions about what size bike you should start on so that you really have a good idea of what size bike you think you need. Generally what it is most people will tell you start on a 250 or start on a 600 or 650. That's what most people will tell you to start on. Some people are really passionate about one way or the other. My personal opinion, I think that pretty much anyone and everyone can start on a 250, and some, but not everyone, can start on a 650 or a 600. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that it's a lot more difficult to start on one. And the other thing too is it's going to be your first bike, and most people who've been riding for a long time will tell you that if you plan on riding your bike all the time, like I didn't have a car for the first 2 years that I had a motorcycle. I only had the bike. So I rode it all the time in all different conditions, and it was probably a dumb idea, but I did it anyway. I did this for about 2.5 years, so I got to ride my bike in all kinds of conditions, day in, day out, every single day, to work, to school, to friends' houses, wherever. And I learned a lot in those 2 years, and it was nice having a smaller bike to learn on, and I'll tell you that much. I started on a Ninja 250, and after that I upgraded to this CBR 600. But do get different opinions as far as, what size bike to start on, and find out what's right for you. Because no one can really tell you what size bike to start on. You just kind of have to figure it out for yourself. But those are what most people are going to tell you. They're going to say either get a 250 or get a 650 or something like that. I would highly advise against starting on a 600 Super Sport like this. They're really peaky, they can be unpredictable, and they can get you into trouble. For a first bike, that is. So smaller bikes are going to be easier to learn on. Plus, hopefully it's an older bike, a less expensive bike, because while you're learning, you're going to make mistakes. I made mistakes starting out, everyone does. If they didn't, they're either a liar or they don't ride very much, because everyone that I know that rides a lot and has been riding for a long time has made some kind of stupid mistake. And you want to start on a smaller bike or an older bike so that you can get these mistakes out of your system. Because what bike would you rather wreck? That like 2006, 2007 Ninja 250 that you got because some guy on YouTube said it would be a decent learning bike even though it's not the bike you really wanted? Or would you rather drop or wreck that dream bike you've always wanted, you've always sought after, that R1 or whatever it is? Me personally, it's a S1000 RR. You don't want to do that. So I had a friend, when I was growing up as a kid, I had a friend whose dad got into motorcycles, and he did it the wrong way. Here's what he did. He went out and bought some big Harley. It was well over 1,000 cc's. He had his motorcycle permit. I don't think he ever got a license. Maybe he took an MSF course, maybe not, but he started on this huge 1,000 plus cc machine, and his first drive, taking it out in the neighborhood, he wrecked it. And he blamed the bike for it, and he never wanted to ride a motorcycle ever again. That's like the worst possible scenario of what could happen, and that's why most people will tell you to start small. That's a really extreme example, but just to give you an idea. When you do buy a motorcycle, though, you're going to want to set money aside not only for the bike, but you're also going to want to set money aside for gear. Gear is a very important part of riding. You always have to prepare for whatever can happen. Just because in a car, you've got a seatbelt, you got airbags, you're surrounded by however many tons of steel and plastic that are protecting you. On a motorcycle, the only thing you have protecting you is your wits, the power of your bike to get you out of sticky situations. But if something does happen, the only thing that's going to protect you is your motorcycle gear, which is why it's imperative that you have good gear. So when you buy a bike, make sure you have money set aside for gear as well, and make sure it's decent gear too. So what kind of gear should you buy when you first start out? Well, I think that's for another video, but generally what I would tell most people starting out is I would recommend personally a full face helmet, a decent riding jacket, decent riding gloves, and then when you ride, I would wear sturdy pants, like a good pair of jeans, and then some sturdy over the ankle boots. If you can go out and buy riding pants and riding boots, even better. But at a minimum, definitely have a full face helmet, a decent jacket, and decent gloves. And when I say decent, I mean like proper motorcycle riding equipment. Not some batting gloves or some stylish leather jacket, like some real motorcycle gear. That'll help you out a lot more. How much is this going to cost? Depends on what you're looking at. You can fully outfit yourself with all of these things for probably south of $500, but I would set aside at least $500 for safety gear. If you're going to make the investment in a bike, set some money aside for safety gear. And if it does sound expensive, look at it like this. When you get into an accident, no matter how minor it is, you're going to have some hospital bills. Alright. Think about the difference in what those hospital bills are with gear and without gear are substantial. And your motorcycle gear will more than pay for itself if, God forbid, you ever have an accident. And it will be at that point that you would have been glad you wore your gear. Doesn't matter how hot it is, doesn't matter how short my ride is, I always wear, at a minimum, jacket, gloves, and a helmet. At a minimum. Right now I'm also wearing riding pants and riding boots. Just extra protection. Riding gear is an absolute must. Also, going back to the bike that you buy, whatever size bike you end up buying, I would go ahead and look into insurance rates with your insurance company for full coverage on the kind of bikes that you are looking at. Say, for example, I've owned a Ninja 250 and a CBR 600RR, so I can only speak to those. But I can tell you right now, the insurance rates are very, very different. I'm not going to throw out specific numbers because they're going to differ, but they're going to differ for you. But for me, insuring this CBR 600RR, which is a 600cc Super Sport, costs about twice as much as insuring a Ninja 250. That's just the way it is. So that might also be something to consider. And then also look into gas mileage, maintenance, things like this. Also give you a better idea of how much everything is really going to cost, so you know how much money to set aside and all that good stuff. And of course, don't forget to set money aside for gear. So I hope that covers most of it. To sum it up again, get some background information from YouTube or wherever, some really good how-to videos, just so that you're familiar with riding. You don't have to be an expert at anything. You don't have to own a motorcycle at this point. After that, I would look at taking a Motorcycle Safety Foundation or MSF course. That'll give you a really good starting point. The only reason I encourage you to look up some how-tos before taking the class is so that you can absorb as much information as possible while you're actually taking the course. After you're taking the course, you're ready to buy your first motorcycle and gear. For your first bike, size is going to vary. Hopefully you already know what size bike you want, but whatever bike you decide on, hopefully you made a good decision and hopefully it serves you well. After that, buy motorcycle, buy gear. And the biggest thing after that is just ride, man. Try and ride in as safe environment as possible. I wouldn't recommend riding on the freeway or canyon riding or really aggressive riding until you've really gotten a hold of basics and fundamental skills of riding. Try and ride just like this is fine to kind of teach yourself a little bit for maybe the first, I don't know, couple weeks, maybe month that you're riding.